Okay, so this will be the next video in the series. Okay, and in this video, I'm gonna show you how to basically create a button like we have here, an edit control, a static control, and basically that's it. Okay, so we're gonna look over three main uh, uh, items here. Okay, to begin with. So here's what happening here. Let me look here. So okay, so what happens is that, no, this one is not here. Okay, let's look this way. So whenever you create an, a button, edit control or static control, you do that in the main procedure, in the main window procedure. Okay, and when you process the VM create message, and the way you do so is as follows: you create a window, like within the main window procedure, you go to the message VM create, which your window procedure receives early on, and then when the window procedure receives that message, you create the way you create a button. It's basically very similar to the way that you create a window, but for the class name you use button. Okay, to create a button, so you go create window text button, and then the next item you can specify the name, which I put it exit, and then what you do for the class style, I'm sorry, for the window style, you put window style child window style visible, and type of button you want to put. So button style default push button. Okay, then you put the location, the width, the height, the handle to the parent window, and then you specify which the ID of that button. So I put 101 in this case, and very important that you typecast it to H menu. Okay, the ID button, and then you put the instance to which application the button belongs to. So you can put H instance or get module handle, which I did, the same thing. Okay, and then creation parameters, we put no in there for the creation parameters. Okay, for the edit window here that we have here, edit window, this blue one, we put create window. We put for the class name edit, which is given to us by Windows, much like button. The class name button is created by Windows. Text edit, okay, and again, Windows style child window, Windows style visible, and edit style left. That means text is left aligned, okay. And then for the static option, okay, we have static option here, which is this here, okay. And for the static option, we go create window again, but this time text static for the, so we put static in for the class type. Then we put static for the, you can put anything that you want there, but we put for the text, okay. And then Windows style child window, Windows style visible. So we didn't put any static specific class style, window style. And H menu is, for the ID for that control, it's what I put 112, and for the previous button was 111. I put it there. So for the control, okay. So the idea here is that the way that you create those button and other ones, that those are basically sub windows, okay. And we just use the predefined class that was defined for you in Windows, okay, to create those two. So now what happens is that whenever you have Windows, a bunch of messages will be created. So what happens is that, let's say, if we have something like this, let's click here. Let me just, okay, here. So when I click on exit, okay, like when I see like lots of messages being received by parent, when you click on exit, right, something will happen. Okay, so here's how the process works. When you click on the exit button, some messages that have been generated will be generated by the Windows operating system, will be sent directly to the window procedure for that window. Others will be placed in the message queue for that window to be later retrieved by the window message loop. So, okay, so what it means is, think of this way: when you click on that exit button, a bunch of messages will be generated here. Okay, some of those messages will go to the message queue, okay, that was created for your program in the operating system. And while other messages are going to be sent directly to your window procedure for processing, okay. And then what happens? The messages that were generated by the that were sent to the message queue will be retrieved when the get message in your window main function comes along. Will be retrieved from the window main function and will be sent from there. Will be sent to the message with the proper message procedure for your window. So it will be for the main window procedure, for the button exit window procedure, because as you know, each window, okay, each window has their own procedure here. Okay, so like this here. Okay, so like the exit button here. Let me just go back here. Here, okay, like here. So like exit button has its own window procedure. I made up the name of the window procedure just for the demonstration purposes. I really don't know what the actual name of the button window procedure is, but I would just, for the sake of the argument, I just put it in for clarity that it was exit button exit window procedure. Edit window control procedure is for edit control, and static window control is for window procedure for static control. And this button here again is going to have get text window procedure. So those basically the two buttons will actually have the same window procedure that's going to go into them. Okay, the exit and get text, they're going to have basically be using the same window procedure. I put two different names here, but that just should show you that to simplify that each button had separate processing, but the reality is that those two buttons, if you create a window based on a button, will have the same window procedure. So button exit window procedure and get text window procedure will be basically the same procedure. Okay, so that's important to know. So now let's look here at the okay, so let's look at the very basics. So here's what happens. So what happens when you press the exit button? Okay, so like something like this. So in my case, when I press the exit button, I just put an application here to ask me if I want to exit the application. So I'm going to put no for the time being. Okay, so like we click on the exit button. So step one, when you click on the exit button, several window messages will be sent by the operating system, the window procedure for that button, such as VM left button down and left button up. So when you click on it, you're gonna have a button up and button down will be sent. Okay, after the processing of these messages, an exit button window procedure will send the main window procedure a VM command message. The button ID that with the button ID that generated that message. So when you click on button down and button up, okay, those will be sent separate to the button window exit procedure, and at some point, a VM command message will be sent from the button procedure to your main procedure, okay, to show that the exit button was pressed. And the way it's going to know that the exit button was pressed is because the W parameter is going to show the ID of the button. So when we were creating our buttons here, so we specified the ID here, okay, as H menu, the ID of our button. So based on that, okay, let's see here. Okay, so based on that, we will know which button was pressed, because they're gonna have the same, basically all buttons going from the same procedure, but the distinction is that it's gonna specify which button it was by specifying the button ID. Okay. So here's what happens. So when the button window procedure sends a command message to the main window procedure, it's gonna get switched. Message gonna be routed here from message to switch case or main switch case. Then we're gonna select based on the VM command, and then we're gonna have a second switch statement. Okay, we're gonna select the low word of W parameter. We're gonna extract the low word of that. Okay, and then low word is gonna go to the case 101, which is gonna send. At this point, we're gonna request the application to start the closing process. So we're gonna send message to ourselves, to our window procedure with a VM close message. So we're gonna go from here. We're gonna send message, go back here, and the message is gonna go again to switch message, VM comment, and then we're gonna go look for VM close. I didn't implement that here, but then it will look for WM window message close. Okay. Note that when VM command message arrives at the main window procedure, the handle to window points to a handle of the window that the VM command message was destined to, and not the handle of the window that originated the message. So in our case, it points to the handle to the main window procedure, not the exit button. Okay, so when we send the VM command message, okay, the handle that comes here, okay, is the handle of the main window procedure. Okay, not the one, not the handle. I mean the handle of the window. Okay, of the main window, and not the handle of the child window, basically. Okay, so that's that's how it goes here. So let me just, so you press exit button. A bunch of messages are sent to the exit window, put the button window procedure. At some point, the VM command message is generated by the window procedure. I mean, with the button window procedure, which is going to be sent to your main window procedure, and then you have to process that message. Okay, so that's the stage. Now let's look. Next step is here. We're going to look at the translate message. Okay, because actually, let's look at the next item here, in this one here. So what happens when you get text? So I have implemented the edit message. So let me show you here. So let's say we have hello. We're going to type in test one. So the first thing is, as you notice, when you type test one, something else happens. And to do so, we're going to have to discuss a couple items here. So the first thing is the translate message here. We had to, because we have to add the translate message to our main loop here. Here we have to add this here, translate message. Otherwise, we will not be able to process our characters. So it's not going to happen. So let me comment this out. Okay, let me close this here. Yes, we want close. Let me close this here. Let me recompile. Let me run. Okay, now here's what happens. See, I cannot put anything in there. I'm trying to type. Messages are arriving, but nothing is being updated. Okay, so let me explain what the translate message does for us here. So whenever you press a key on your keyboard, the actual what happens, you generate a VM key down and a VM key up. So window message down, okay, and window message up, okay, and they have what's called virtual key codes. So the translate message function translates a virtual key code into a character key code and places it back into the queue for that window, so that the character message is the next message to be retrieved. The translation from virtual key code to character key code will depend on the keyboard language selected at the time. So the virtual key code C will not necessarily translate into an ASCII character C, but would translate to a special symbol that is linked to the keyboard key C. So if certain keyboards are set up for different languages, so that when you press C, it might generate a different character depending on how is the system set up, on what language and so forth. So what happens is that when you press the key button, let's say we're going to press the C button in our case, we're going to get the following messages. VM window message key down, which with a W parameter is capital C. An L parameter is going to specify, has a special meaning here. And the L parameter value, it's basically 32-bit, 32-bit machine. And here's how you interpret that value. Okay, so the 0 to 15 bits, so in our case 0 here to 15, it has the repeat count, how many times the key is auto-repeated. Bit 16 to 23 has a scan code. Bit 24 indicates the extended key such Control Alt was pressed. 25 to 28 bits reserved not to be used. Okay. 29 context code, always 0 for VM key down message. Bit 30, the previous key state. If the key was down before the message was sent, then the value is 1, otherwise it's 0. And 31 is the transition state for the VM window message key down message. For the VM key down message is always 0. For VM key up, it's writing 1. Okay. So here's what happens. So we press the keyboard key C. Okay, so we get VM key down. Okay. So that's gonna be placed into the queue. When we retrieve that VM key down, it's gonna go to the translate message option here. Where did it go? That's not it here. That's this one here. Okay. No, it's not here. There you go. Here. Okay, let me just, okay, here. No, not the code, here. Okay, so we go here, translate message. The translate message function, what it's gonna do is basically gonna generate, in our case here, because I have an English keyword setup, it's gonna generate a character, VM character message. Okay, and it's gonna place with the correct lowercase c, because the keyword didn't have, like I wasn't, alt wasn't pressed or caps wasn't pressed. The VM character message, and it's gonna be placed into the queue. Okay, so the next time get message is called, it's gonna retrieve that message. So when we have the queue here, so it will be placed then at the very top of the queue. So the next message that will be retrieved by the transmit message would get message would retrieve the next message. It would get the VM character message. Okay, and then that would be then go into translate message would be ignored, and then would be eventually made to the dispatch message. So translate message, basically what it does is translate a virtual key code message to a character message, to the correct character message based on the keyboard setup. Okay, and post that message as the next message to be retrieved from the Windows queue. All right, so that's the next thing. Okay, so that's why we need those translate messages. So we need translate message in order to be able to receive keyboard input. Otherwise, you're not gonna receive anything. So here we have VM key down. So with a virtual key code, then translate message will generate VM character message that's going to be placed into the queue as the next message to be retrieved. And then we have VM key up. Okay, again, the regular message. Okay. Those are messages are posted to queue. There are other messages that are sent directly to the main window procedure, which is VM command and VM control color edit. So you can look up those messages for yourself as well. The control color edit, I think, allows you to specify the background color or something like that of the control when you press the key. I think that's the main one, but you can look that one up here. All right, so let's look here what happens when we look at this option here. So here's what happens when we get text. So we go here to OC. So I type in, so test 1. I get text, and what it does, it will copy the text from our edit control to our static control. This is static control here on this side. Okay, so the get text does for us. All right, so here's the situation. So we have basically three main. You have the three window procedures for each of those controls, for the button, edit control, and static control. Plus we have the main window procedure. So when we click get text, again, a bunch of messages are being sent to the get text button window procedure, or to the button window procedure, however you look at it. At some point, the button window procedure will generate a comment, window message comment, with the parameter one with the low word of the parameter 110, which is basically the ID of that button, and it's gonna send that message, okay, to our main window procedure here. Send a message. When it arrives at our main window procedure, okay, we're gonna go to the switch statement, the message. From there, we're gonna process the VM command message. The VM command message, we're gonna have another switch statement, and we're gonna process, in our case now, the case 110, which is basically for the get text. And what will happen there is a couple things. First thing, we're gonna send a message from our main window procedure to the edit control that has the text that we just changed at this point. And we're gonna request VM get text length. Okay, so the VM get text length returns the length of the character string without the null terminating character. So for example, hello will have a value 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not going to have the null terminating character. Okay, it's not going to be there. So what it does, so basically here to simulate that, so send message is going to go up here for the purple line. Okay, it's going to go up here to the window edit, window text, window procedure. And this window procedure is going to process that VM get text length message, and it's going to give us back the result of that message. So in our case, it's going to be the value of how many characters we have in this edit control that we typed in. The next thing, we're going to use some C functions. Okay, so we're going to go and we're going to need to allocate space for those characters. So we're going to go malloc, which stands for memory allocation. So we're going to ask the operating system to give us some space, okay, in general memory location. Then we're gonna request size of character, which is basically 1 byte times the string length plus 1. Okay, so we should have asked. Well, actually, it's going to give you more. This is wrong. So we should have asked string length. So character size 1 byte, string length, and then 1 at the end. So, but still, for us, it makes no difference here. So in this case, we're gonna string length is 5. So normally it would have been 5 times 1, so it's 5 plus 1, so it's going to be 6 values. But in this case, it's going to be 6. Actually gives us the same value, string length, because size of character is 1 byte. Okay, so in this case, it's the even though it's an error, it's still correct. Okay, so here we're going to allocate space for 6 characters. So the way, and it's going to be, we're going to return value of that's going to be a character pointer. So here's how it looks visually. Think of this way. You have an address, okay, it's somewhere in memory. Computer says an address and a value, 1 byte. So for each address, there is 1 byte associated with it. So what malloc does here is going to allocate our space for 6 memory locations. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the computer free memory somewhere. Okay, and it's going to put that address of the starting address of that sequence of those memory locations into the string text. Okay, length. So I should put in the string text length. So basically string text. So this is the string text is going to hold the initial address of the initial byte of that character string, and we have to typecast it to character pointer. So the address is of type character pointer. Okay, but it doesn't change the address value itself. Okay, it just basic compiler knows that this is going to be the memory location here points to a character string. Okay, now we have that allocated. Okay, from memory. So here, so we go to next send. So the next message we're gonna request send message to the window procedure to get the text. So VM get text string length +1. So which basically we want the text plus the null terminating character. Okay, and L parameter string text, which is basically a pointer to this location, to the member location where the buffer thing of this is the buffer, right? To where to write down the string there. Okay, so with the null terminating character. So the one here, when you see +1, is for the null terminating. So at the initial address, we're gonna say H. So we're gonna put the hello in there. So what? So here's what, like when we have something like this here, hello, we put hello, right? Okay, and we get text. So what we'll do, when we type in get text here, it's gonna take the hello and write it into that buffer that we just requested from our dynamic memory. Okay, so the first address that string text points to is going to have H, and then the system is going to increment by 1 byte to add those other ones. And this is based on the ASCII type setup. It's not Unicode. Okay, this is ASCII. For Unicode, you probably would need basically 2 bytes for each letter, right? And then, so that's we have that at this point. So it's going to copy that into the buffer, get text. Then we're going to send message to the static control, a static window with a window message VM set text 0 here, because the W parameter is not used with that set text message. And then L parameter is going to be pointer to this buffer, to the initial, it's going to be a pointer to this buffer with the initial address of the first letter. To this buffer is going to point here. And what it's going to do, it's going to, so we're going to send this to the static text window procedure, which then the static text window procedure will basically write into or draw the string into the static text window for us. Okay, and finally, once we're done with that, we type in free string text. What that's for us basically, it's going to delete that buffer, so that buffer can be reused by other programs or by our programs at later point, with different values. So it's going to basically just telling this system that we no longer need this buffer at this point. Okay, so that was basically the basics of creating like a button edit control, static control. So let me just demonstrate here one more time. So when we type in hello 4 and type get text, so basically we'll be able to retrieve the text value from the edit control and copy it to the static window control for us. Okay, so that's it. Okay, thank you.